RFK has officially joined Donald Trump's presidential campaign, where the former Democrat received an insane amount of love from Trump supporters.
I don't think I've ever introduced anybody that got applause like that.
As Trump stated, he will create an independent panel to look into presidential assassinations.
I am announcing tonight that upon my election, I will establish a new independent Presidential Commission on Assassination Attempts. And they will be tasked with releasing all of the remaining documents pertaining to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy.
And create a panel to look into what's making Americans so sick.
Today I'm repeating my pledge to establish a panel of top experts working with Bobby to investigate what is causing the decades-long increase in chronic health problems and childhood diseases.
And when RFK endorsed Trump, he repeated the same.
Don't you want a president who's going to protect America's freedoms and who is going to protect us against totalitarianism? Don't you want to know that the food that you're feeding them is not filled with chemicals that are going to give them cancer and chronic disease? And don't you want a president that's going to make America healthy again? Thank you all very, very much, and God bless you, and God bless America.
And I wouldn't think that making America healthy again would be a partisan issue, as you don't have to be political to realize we're getting heavier, we're getting sicker, and at disproportionate rates than the rest of the first world. But within minutes of RFK joining Trump's ticket, they identified an issue and are already providing policies to solve it. Meanwhile, all the Democrats have to offer is, look how joyful our diversity and inclusion is, and also communism. But now people are saying that this is the moment that will win the election for Donald Trump, and although the first Kennedy to cross party lines and publicly endorse a Republican is a huge victory for Trump, I still think nothing will be more impactful than him raising his fist, shouting fight, after literally losing part of his face on stage. I guess that's because that pulls more of the moderates like me towards supporting Trump, and RFK pausing his presidential campaign to support Trump will bring more of the disaffected liberals to Trump's camp. But how exactly did this happen, as the likelier move would have been for RFK to drop out and endorse the Democrats?
Following my first discussion with President Trump, I tried unsuccessfully to open similar discussions with Vice President Harris. Vice President Harris declined to meet or even to speak with me.
To which her supporters saw this as a win for her to turn away RFK. But when you look at the swing state polling, this is a disaster, as if even RFK can pull half of his base towards Trump, Trump basically wins all the battleground states. Which even CNN acknowledges how apocalyptic this is for Kamala's campaign.
Now, the latest swing state polls show Kennedy with 5 or 6% of the vote. And so when you think about it overall, you may say, well, that's not a big deal. Actually, if that is the case in swing states, it is huge. It is everything. It is more than the margin between Harris and Trump.
And I haven't followed RFK too closely, but from what I knew, he seemed to encroach on 2A, but later said he was a constitutional absolutist. But everything he says about our food and medical system is spot on. So even if he is a longtime Democrat, I'm glad Trump is welcoming him with open arms, as he has a lot to provide the party. But apparently the Democrats don't see it the same way, as let's be clear, Biden was never going to run for president in 2024. He's obviously not healthy enough for another 4 years as president, let alone another 4 months. And in the Democrats' primary election, Kamala Harris couldn't beat RFK, Bernie Sanders, or even a ham sandwich at this point. So after hiding Biden until after the DNC to install Comrade Kamala without receiving a single vote from the people, there was absolutely zero chance they were going to let anybody that isn't completely controlled by the establishment onto that ticket, let alone RFK, as RFK openly calls out their corruption.
The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money.
Which is insane, as CNN's coverage cuts away right as he gets into it.
Vice President Harris has not appeared in a single interview or an unscripted encounter with voters for 35 days.
We've been listening to independent candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from Phoenix outlining what...
And if you look at the timestamp, MSNBC had already cut off RFK before he can even get into why he left the Democrats. And I don't even know why MSNBC continues to simp for Harris, as she simply refuses to speak with them.
When will she sit down with the media in a one-on-one capacity and answer our questions?
I think she'll sit down on her time. Look.
And expect whatever games the corporate dinosaur media played with Trump, they're about to do the same with RFK. Because if he was truly a liability that would have ruined Kamala's campaign, they would have openly broadcast whatever he was saying, as it would likely damage Trump's run too. But if they don't even allow you to hear what he has to say, that's when you know they're afraid, as making Americans healthier should be a bipartisan issue, but just like how they demonize everything Trump does, they'll have to do the same to RFK, as hype for President Donald Trump is at an all-time high, as he completely fills this stadium to the top, where he captions it, "too big to rig." Compared to when Kamala held a rally at the same stadium days earlier, they had to block off entire sections that remained empty. Not to mention they apparently trick attendees into thinking they'll see musical performances just so they'll show up.
Here's what I hear from sources. If it's going to be anyone, it would be Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and George W. Bush.
So the energy definitely has shifted, as first Trump got Vivek Ramaswamy, who I think would be great in his cabinet, then he brought in Tulsi Gabbard to help with his debate prep against Kamala, and now with RFK to bring in disaffected liberals, I'm really starting to believe he's going to be impossible to beat. But if you appreciate my concise, unordered commentary on the tragic status that is today's reality, hopefully I've earned your subscription, then go check out the video on how the mainstream media tried to lie to Trump's face, but accidentally ended up just proving him right.